All right, it's 6:01. Committees are in session. We will start right off the bat with finance. Real quick, before we get into finance, since we're all here, I talked to the mayor earlier today, and some of you may have or may not have, but we did receive notification from the Trumbull County Board of Health that we can begin conducting meetings in person. Don't know what thoughts are, but I think starting December, we should start doing so. What does everyone else think?
What do we have to do?
Meet together?
I mean, yeah, to me, what,
We just
What do we
Still have to
wear
social
masks.
distance and,
Yeah,
whole 9 yards.
We would just want to start fresh first of the year because spikes are going up all over the place, and I imagine with election day going on tomorrow, probably see even another spike.
well, here's my take on it, and I'll get everyone's opinion on this. I think if we can meet live, to do it live, I think it takes a lot of burden off of our office manager and having to do these, number one. Number two, it gives the public the opportunity to come into a meeting should they want to. And I hate to say this, but I think there's going to be spikes regardless, whether we meet November, December, January. It's all about just doing what's right. And if we can socially distance and do it, I'm all in favor of doing it as soon as possible. But I just think for consistency, we stay with this month's already been planned. We go ahead and start in December. So Brian thinks January 1st. I think December. Sean, what do you think?
I'm good with December. If anybody's that overly concerned over it, then for their health, then we can go later. But I agree with you. I think things are just going to continue to be spiking all over the place. So better sooner than later, I guess.
Mr. Harvey?
I'm fragile.
Okay.
No time's good for me. But December is fine. If the group likes December,
Okay. Cliff?
I'll go with December.
Okay. Mr. Joins?
As long as the members that are most vulnerable are comfortable, I'm good with December.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's fair, because that's what I was thinking with those guys, because most of us are at the age we'll probably weather it fairly well, but don't want to put anybody unnecessarily at risk.
Yeah, if Cliff or Mr. Harvey, don't feel obligated, guys, to agree with us. If you guys aren't
Yeah,
comfortable.
absolutely. This is not a,
Well, let me put it this way to you. I will protect myself at all costs.
okay.
Got that?
All right. Either of our chiefs, any comment? You in agreement?
Whatever you guys decide, I'm
Okay.
good.
Solicitor Ross?
Just make sure we follow the correct protocols.
Okay.
I can tell everybody right now, I'm sitting here COVID positive. A lot of people at my firm got it, but everybody's fine. So just,
Okay.
It is what it is. It sneaks up on you. We had pretty good protocols at work.
Yep. Mrs. Canada, Mrs. Cunningham?
I'm okay as long as we're safe.
Okay.
You know me, Ray. I'll stay away as long as possible.
Okay. The mayor, obviously, we spoke earlier, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think, this comes about with, I think a lot of other agencies, Trumbull County commissioners and stuff like that, they're all back to public meetings. And I think, part of the reason they're letting government agencies do this is, for the fact that, it's easier for the public if we do it in a safe, proper way to come to a meeting and voice their opinions, and which they should be able to. I think we've only had one. Since we went into Zoom, I think we've only had one person submit anything to talk about on the record. And I think we would get a little bit more. Obviously, I want everybody to feel safe. I think we can do it safe. We can social distance, wear masks. Obviously, we would go to the community room across the street. It would give us more room so we could space out a little bit better. I don't think council chambers, I think it's small enough. I don't think that's a good idea, but I think over there at the community room, I think we could space out obviously more than 6 foot. And if somebody did want to come to the meeting, you know, we have sanitation stations and stuff like that. We could do things as safe as possible.
Okay. All right, so let's plan for it. This month will go unchanged. It's already planned for Wednesday, and obviously the second meeting is Zoom. But we'll be in contact with one another, and we'll speak openly before we come to a decision. We'll make sure that we make that public for that second meeting. But it seems as though the consensus is that starting December, we meet in person. Okay. All right, so moving on into finance. And again, it already opened up at 6:01. The only thing we do have is we do have a transfer ordinance that is from what I've been notified is $100, correct?
Yes,
Mrs. Canada? And
it's
that
an
was,
unclaimed funds.
okay. So, and that's just standard procedure, unclaimed funds, we're just taking them into our budget. To continue on, Mrs. Kennedy, you had mentioned you had a few things for finance this evening.
I do.
Go ahead.
I wanted to make council aware that a reminder that at the beginning of this year, in May or April, we adjusted the fund amounts in CMI due to the auditor's recommendation for
Okay.
reconciliation years. So with that being done, I wasn't aware that we also needed to have CMI adjust the bank balances. So they did. They were off by the exact same amount. So CMI did go just recently and adjust those. So now everything is in line. It all matches.
Okay.
And I needed the finance committee to be aware that although Home Savings originally said that nothing would change when we stayed with them through the merge to Premier Bank, and that our interest rate would stay the same at a fixed rate of 1.25 for the next 5 years, that is no longer the case. Premier does not have an interest-bearing checking account. So they offered us 0.5% through the end of October and 0.3% interest November and December. And then at the end of December, there is no interest for any of the money that's in our Premier account. So what they recommended to fix this is to open an ICS sweeps account, which is allowed ORC code. It goes along with that, and it's all FDIC insured. So the money stays in the account, then they sweep it out at the end of the night. It does its thing, makes its interest, and then it's back in the account. Or we can go with Star Ohio, which we already have accounts open for. And the interest rate fluctuates. And the Premier Bank tries to follow along the same lines as Star Ohio. I just didn't know what you guys wanted to do. Obviously, this is going to affect the interest that's coming in for revenue, a significant amount. It'll decrease by that, and we need to determine the amounts that are going to remain in the checking account that we're going to need as day-to-day activity, and then decide where we want to go ahead and move the money to. And I sent over the ICS agreement to Solicitor Ross, who he'll look it over. I just sent it recently. So that's that. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that. And then I have one more thing.
And Lori, if I'm correct, this is based on the conversation that you and I had that conference call about a month and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And just to let everyone on council know, I did express my extreme level of disappointment from Premier Bank, and I'll reiterate that tonight. It's just extreme disappointment. But unfortunately, it's one of those situations where they were bought out by a bigger bank, bigger entity, and it is what it is. We can either do what your recommendation is, Mrs. Canada, or we can look at other financial institutions, which I don't know what everyone else on the committee thinks.
I think it might be a good idea to shop ourselves around to some other banks in the area.
I agree.
And I did make that clear when, during that conversation, and Lori, I'm sure you will second this. I let them know, look, you know, they're obviously in business to make money, and we're in business to run a municipality, and we're business partners, and we need to find the best possible business partner. And if it's them, then it's them. But if it's not, then we find who the best partner is. So I'll start doing some research on that. So this way, Laura, you're not stuck doing so. I'll make
Okay.
some calls around, and we'll talk further on it.
Absolutely. And Ray, I just, I'm about to order checks. So if we are going to switch banks, I'm going to hold off then. I think I have enough to get through the end of the year, but it's going to be right there. So if we are thinking of switching, I'll hold off, and then
How much are checks?
a couple $100.
If we need checks, we got to get checks.
We don't, okay. You don't want to order them and then reorder them.
I don't. That's irrelevant in my mind.
Could order a smaller batch.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll make it as, if it, in my opinion, is this, like to what Marty said and Sean said, you know, we need to do due diligence and do our research, but we'll do so in helping to make it a smooth transition as much as possible for you. So.
Okay.
That'll
I
be a
know
good
that-
transition.
I know that last transition we went through was very stressful on everybody in the office.
Yeah.
And I really hate to see us go through that again, but we took a beating over the last 5-7 years with the interest rates as low as they are. Star Ohio used to pay us out. We used to make $100,000 a year in interest income, and we're making next to nothing now. And the fact that they want to cut that even by more than 50%, I mean, we got to look around.
It's down to zero.
Yeah, I mean, we were already getting next to nothing, but now they're going to cut it more than 50% from what we were at. And, you know, we got to look around.
Well, and here's what I'll say to my extreme disappointment. This goes directly to it. You know, a year and a half ago, I sat over in the branch while it was still open, and we were looking at leaving at the time Home Savings, and there was a great deal of mutual respect between the two of us, and the fact that they had always been a good partner with the village and always, you know, kept with their promises and kept with their word. And now, so this happens, it's almost one of those, well, you know what, we're not local anymore, so we don't care about the village of McDonald. And that's kind of the way I see it. So it's one of those, we have to do what we have to do, and they have to do what they have to do. And if we end up working together, we end up working together. And if not, then good luck to them and good luck to us. So, Mr. Harvey, you were going to say something on that?
I just said, yeah, it's not an easy task switching, and you're right, to
Yeah.
put people on the, so we really want to make sure when we can do this, it is what we really want to do, and realize what the effort's going to be to get it changed.
Okay. Mrs. Canada, you had anything else for finance this evening?
The last thing I have is that for the past couple years, we've had an agreement with Charles E. Harris to do the financial notes and statements. They're part of the year-end report. They're also the group that's doing our audit. They reached out to the village to see if we would like to have them do them again. And I don't know if that's something that council has a motion for, or if you just tell me to go ahead and do it, or I don't know how that all works.
Mr. Ross, would that fall under service? Would that be a?
Yeah, I'm okay if we just do some type of a motion to continue with that. Lori and I discussed it earlier. It sounds appropriate.
All right, Sean, we'll have you do that on Wednesday. Once you gain more information on that.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. One other thing I did have, I believe a temporary budget is it submitted, or is it doesn't need to be submitted, correct?
Submitted to whom?
We don't need to have a temporary budget. We're just voting on a final for year's end, which we're going to have budgetary meetings now that we have better understanding with what may be coming in, correct?
I'm sorry. I'm not following you, Ray.
We're not going to vote on a temporary budget. We're just going to have a permanent budget before the end of the year.
So that was something I didn't
I'm
know
sorry.
if finance had discussed or not. I know you and I had talked about it. When I had spoken with the Trumbull County, Christy Sesterik, who's at Trumbull County, had said that there's really, because the village does it so, we're so diligent about making our appropriations line by line. She had advised that it would probably be not that it would not, maybe not in our best interest. It's definitely fine if we were to go ahead and submit it as a permanent budget and then turn around next year, instead of doing the crunching of the numbers to get it passed as a permanent by March, we can just amend it at that time.
Okay.
A lot of other places only do their budget in 3-month installments for that, the temporary budget, but because we've already worked so hard to get it almost completely ready for the year, she had advised that it wouldn't be a bad idea to go ahead and pass it as a permanent, and then again, just amend it when we need to, when we see fit.
Okay. Does everyone understand that? Okay. So that's how we'll do things moving forward with the budget. And again, thank you to Mrs. Canada and everyone on the committee, the department heads, for being so diligent and making sure that our budget is, it's pretty cut and dry and pretty clean. So we have minimal changes throughout the year. So that's actually a huge compliment to the village as a whole, that we're able to do as such. Was there anything further for finance? One additional item I did have that kind of crossed paths between finance and service is we're at that time of the year with our annual healthcare contract for our employees. I have had conversations with Mr. Schmidt, Mrs. Cunningham, Mr. Dimitrovich, and Nate Ogden, who is our broker, who handles our medical benefits every year. We do have a new option available to us. The good thing is it has no disruption to the employees. So basically what it is, it's still a MedMutual medical plan, which means that they don't have to change physicians, their deductibles and costs out of pocket don't change. The big plus is, and Amy, please clarify, it's what, MEMWA? What is the first part?
MEWA,
What?
Managed Employers Work Association, I believe.
Okay, so it's an acronym for basically a large buy-in group. Now, as soon as you hear that, everyone thinks consortium. That is not what this is. So I made very clear to make sure that we are not getting ourselves into anything like we did in the past. Basically what it does, it takes a group of smaller employers that are all municipalities, groups them together as one to negotiate a better rate for healthcare premiums. So what Nate Ogden seems to think is that once our employees complete this application, which the process will be done over the next couple of weeks, that we may be able to save anywhere from 3 to 15%, and that's a very big number, but it can vary based on how we qualify on our annual premiums. So I see it as a matter of, we don't have to do anything from committee, but just to keep everyone informed, as a matter of, we need to check into this, because if it's going to be the same MedMutual plan, but we're going to be able to save money on it, we'd be almost foolish to just let that, pass by. So, are there any questions on it or how something like that would work from anyone?
Just a comment, Councilman. Just that the reason we're looking into this newer plan is because of the increase that was proposed to us. If you remember what that was.
Yeah, what was that increase again?
To renew, I think we were looking at 16,000, if I'm correct, Amy, to renew.
It was actually about a little over 10,000 for 2021. It was
That's about a 5%
92.
increase, right?
Right. And which in any other year, 5% might not be too bad, but when there's an option out there to save double digits, that's the better way to go.
Yeah. And again, and 5% is to your point, Thomas, fairly low with healthcare, but if we can make that 5% increase, a 5% decrease, that could be a $25,000 or $20,000 plus, windfall for the village. So we'll wait and see what happens with those applications. department heads, if you could encourage anyone underneath you to, once we get those applications, to get those completed as soon as possible, that would greatly help in us getting that quote. So,
And Ray, I need to correct myself. It was multiple employer welfare arrangement is what MIWA is.
okay. I knew it sounded like an Eskimo tribe is what I'd say. But, so let's hope the MIWA will help us out. So, is there anything else for finance this evening?
There, Mr. Lewis.
Mr. Ross?
Speaking of our former healthcare coverage, that OPEC HC litigation is still out there and that settlement's still pending. So as we discussed in the past, we need to make sure we have the proper amount budgeted in our coffers for when we have to pay that. Haven't heard
Okay.
much lately from the lawyers representing all municipalities, but I'll follow up. But it's sort of just been kind of stagnant ever since COVID hit. I'll figure it out.
Okay.
Ray,
Yes.
are we trying to pass the budget?
No.
At this, okay.
No, don't worry about that.
Do you have a date possibly in mind
By the end of the year.
by the end of the year?
Anything further for finance? All righty, it's 6:22. Finance is closed. So 6:22, we'll go service.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? My computer's acting weird. We good?
Yeah.
All right, thanks. 6:22. I don't have much this evening. Mr. Ross did come up with a new service agreement or for the facilities use agreement that we still need to kind of go over a few things. But looking forward to getting that kind of nailed down and sent over to the school once we figure that all out. So thank you again, Mr. Ross, for all your hard work with that. And then Lori, I'll want to discuss with you a little bit more about this, what we had just talked about, the Charles E. Ayers thing, tomorrow or Wednesday. And outside of that, I really don't have much unless anybody else in service has anything to discuss.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I had talked to you in the past, Sean, and I did circulate among council about the sewer rate that I've been working on with professional financial management, PFM, and we are coming close to a number. I did get that out to you. As we come closer to a final budget that we're looking to approve, I'm also working with Lori to make sure that those numbers go in and plug in to the revenue side of our 602 account, our sewer account, and we have a good balanced year in 2021. So I gave you a handout that has it shows some forecast of what the rate would need to be to keep that account solvent. But like I said, it's not permanent yet. It's not exact, but I'm real close to having that. And I'd like to believe before our last meeting in this month, I'll have it ironed out from everything from the finance department to our operations to make sure it's good. So I don't know if there's any questions about that handout that I had. I'll answer them if I can.
Forgive me, I don't remember receiving that handout, Thomas.
It was emailed,
Okay.
but I'll get it to you, Sean. I'll get it to you if you didn't get a copy of that. But it depicts the sewer rate for this year. They actually forecasted it out, I think, to 2028 or beyond. But I'm looking at the near future for the next 3 years in particular. So this is a rate adjustment that's necessary to balance. We're getting close to overspending in that 602 account. And I think that an adjustment's is absolutely necessary right now. We won't get through 2021, but I don't want to confuse this with the asset management plan. This rate increase is just due to salaries, inflation, and the Nile sewer rate that's all increased on us most recently. So that's why this rate's going to happen first. And then after I hammer this down with PFM, we'll go into discussion about asset management, which is the water rate.
Hey, Sean, I think you'll find that at the very bottom, the council packets email. It's below the building permits.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I printed everything out in that, but I'll check it out.
But yeah, we're close. I think I got to tweak it. Lori and I are looking at it. I may have to tweak it a little bit more in the direction to bring in some more revenue, but we'll sit down. I just got the numbers last week, so we haven't had a chance to sit down to put them into our budget.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then I don't know if you knew we did get approved for our grant funding for the senior center. I have a letter from the commissioners asking us to go ahead and sign it and return it. It looks like awarded 22,000. That sounds like it's a lot lower than normal, and it is, but we are only under an 8-month contract due to COVID versus our normal 12-month contract. So that's a significant decrease, it looks like, but really that would be suitable for us to conduct activities at the community room in that timeline. But I'm looking at getting that signed in return, but you'll see it come across as a resolution eventually. I believe we have to do a resolution before accepting the money as well. So I'll work with Solicitor Ross to get that prepared for you, not for the Wednesday, but for the next meeting in the month.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
6:28.
All right, 6:28 and service is closed. We'll go 6:28. We'll go safety.
Okay, we'll call it at 6:28. I know that Chief Stitt was able to submit his month-end report. I know I talked to Chief Woodley earlier. It's been kind of tied up the past week. He's working hard on getting his report submitted. I know that's always tough when the first falls on a weekend. I'm sure that'll happen in the next few days. But other than that, we didn't really have anything to bring forward at this time. So if anybody has any questions. Okay, we'll call it at 6:29.
6:29, safety's closed. 6:29, save the best for last. Short and sweet, Mr. Harley, Parks and Buildings.
Short and sweet? Okay.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
Oh, thank you. First of all, I'd like to start by thanking everybody from the village that had to do with the Halloween, the trunk, mayor, everybody. I heard a lot of good reports about how that went off and how safe it was, and everything else through the trick or treating seemed to went off fine. But for the village part, for what they've done, people have seemed to have been happy with what went on. Mayor, fire department, everybody that had part of that and getting that off. Thank you very much for all that and having us getting to a safe Halloween season. And again, thanks to everybody. As Tom mentioned, we're talking about the community room, what it's going to take to get it back open again. Waiting for more information. It seems like it keeps changing on, some of the testing and other procedures. And we'll get that information out to the people who go there, see what they think. But getting that grant is a big part of that, and being able to have that in place and to move forward, we're going to be able to get once we get more information. And it seems like everybody's doing that to get those rooms back up and running, and that's what council's desire is. And thank for all the hard work from Tommy and everybody on keeping the work on that, and to finally be able to get the letter to people who go there and see what their thoughts are, and getting more information what that's going to look like in the near future. So thanks for everybody work on that. Christmas in the Village, it's still an ongoing thing, waiting for a lot more information. Definitely won't be like it was last year. If there's gonna be anything at all, we don't know yet. We'll still keep an eye and waiting for more information from the governor. And yeah, with the COVIDs, people are going red, and that becomes a lot of play as far as what we're gonna be allowed to do, if anything. So we'll keep looking at that, and monitor that, but we really don't have anything to give out at this point, where they've released any information. And a lot of people are looking, Santa Claus. A lot of the businesses have that. Everybody's on hold to what they're going to do for, what's going to be the guidelines, or if they're going to be able to do a sit-on lap thing at all. And so we're waiting for guidelines. And Tommy's been talking to the Trumbull County Health Department and going onto the websites and looking for the updates and waiting for the governor. And so we're looking for a lot of updates on that to see where we're going to go, and if at all anywhere. Just looking for more guidelines. Thomas, anything else? What else did we talk?
Yeah, we had some actual fruits of our labor when we were talking about getting the COVID money spent and redoing our front lobby, making it accessible to the public again, and protecting everyone from the residents to our working staff. That should start this week. Chris Mills will be in the building. He dropped off some samples today, and we're hoping to get started on renovations in the front lobby this week now, and get that project on the roll, as well as getting quotes for renovations across the street in the second floor. So these are things that I'm working on with contractors and architects and HVAC. We're really making some steps forward, so that if the opportunity is available to use some of that money, we will have a good plan. And if money isn't available, but we will still have a good plan and a direction for the near future to renovate that second floor. So just some of the things that I'm doing right now for Parks and Buildings.
Wow, thank you. Do we have a rough estimate of how much money is in that COVID account right now?
I can't speak of it. I know.
Or anybody?
Also,
I know we got 109. We had 68, 109.
We
I
received.
believe all of the COVID money is accounted for right now.
Accounted
Yeah.
for how it's spent or allocated?
Accounted for.
Pardon?
It's accounted for.
It's accounted for. We
Yeah.
just have to allocate what we're going to do with it.
Yeah, remember we had it, when we talked, we're using the rest for the wages.
Is that
Yes.
everybody's okay with that, or? Because we're talking about doing the second floor.
We're not talking about doing that under COVID funds, correct?
Correct.
No? Okay.
No.
Second floor is going to be down to something else, Thomas?
no, I'm getting quotes right now. Where the money comes from, I don't know. I'm just working on getting a plan together for the administration.
Okay. So that's going to be some discussion down the road here shortly. See how that works out. Is that the deal?
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else for Parks and Buildings?
Remember, tomorrow's election day, and in memory of Mike O'Brien, vote early and vote often.
That's his memo. Totally vote off.
Well done. Now, I'd just like to, under Parks and Buildings, I'd like to thank Chief Stitt and all of his employees who did show up and worked with us to hand out the bags, and the Mayor's Association. It was interesting watching that whole project take place. Hats off to the Mayor's Association that started it, and then great finish with the public and everyone that came through. We do have a little bit left over, but I'll work with the mayor again to make sure we get the extras delivered to needy kids in our valley, in our area, that can still enjoy that. So we probably got about 375 delivered. And I don't think it should go without being noticed, but I thank Councilman Sean Schmidt and Councilman Ray Lewis for doing some special deliveries to residents and families that didn't want to get involved with the car lineup or maybe even risk any kind of just safety issues and help do some door-to-door delivery. So I appreciate their effort and concern for everyone's safety. And hats off to Sean and Ray, as well as the fire department, Chief Stitt and his staff for helping out. So appreciate everything that everybody did. It was a really, really great event.
Yeah, thank you, Tom, and I agree wholeheartedly. Thanks to the Chief Stitt and everybody that was involved with that. It seemed to went out very well, and we're happy for that. Anybody else have anything for Parks and Buildings? That will close that. Where are we gonna close that, Ray?
6:37.
6:37. 6:37.
6:37, Parks is
Thank you.
closed. All right, that is all that I had. We're good to go this evening.
Okay.
Night.